Bangalore. However, I became unemployed due to coronavirus crisis. Now I am getting work under Manrega, supporting in my livelihood.
ಅನುಕೂಲ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಸರ್.
ನಮಗೆ ಕೆಲಸ ಬಂದು ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಒಳ್ಳೆಯದಾಗಿದೆ.
Money gets deposited in my bank account and we get a lot of support from it. We use this money for our daily expenses.
ಹಣ ಎಲ್ಲ ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಡ್ರಾ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊ.
Currently, the work under Manrega is underway at a total of 1,782 projects in Chikballapur district, due to which many people are getting employment here. Manrega has also provided employment opportunities to many women too. Not only in Chikballapur, but also people are getting work under Manrega in other parts of the state too during COVID crisis. With Govind Raju Swami, Bureau Report, Chikballapur, DD India.
That's a wrap on News Night, but news continues here on DD India and DD News. You can catch all the latest updates on our social media, mobile and digital platforms. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
डीडी फ्री डिश, मनोरंजन का संसार सीधे आपके द्वार।
भीम ऐप का प्रयोग करके हम अपने नगद लेन देन को बहुत ही आसान बना सकते हैं। भीम ऐप के जरिए ब्रॉडबैंड, केबल टीवी, डीटीएच, इलेक्ट्रिसिटी बिल पेमेंट आसानी से किए जा सकते हैं। साथ ही गैस बिल का भुगतान या हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस भी किया जा सकता है। भीम ऐप से आप लैंडलाइन पोस्टपेड, जीवन बीमा, लोन पेमेंट, मोबाइल पोस्टपेड का पेमेंट भी कर सकते हैं। आपको किसी से पैसा मंगाना हो या किसी को भेजना हो तो वो भी आसानी से किया जा सकता है। तो देर किस बात की, अपने मोबाइल पे भीम ऐप डाउनलोड कीजिए और अपने नगद लेन देन की प्रक्रिया को आसान बनाइए। कोविड-19 के चलते ज्यादा से ज्यादा लोग डिजिटल ट्रांजैक्शन का प्रयोग कर रहे हैं। डिजिटल ट्रांजैक्शन में सबसे सेफ एंड सिक्योर्ड मोड है इंटरनेट बैंकिंग। इंटरनेट बैंकिंग के 3 इंपॉर्टेंट टूल हैं। पहला टूल है NEFT यानी नेशनल इलेक्ट्रॉनिक फंड ट्रांसफर। इसमें आपको किसी भी तरह का अतिरिक्त चार्ज नहीं देना पड़ता है। ये 24/7 अवेलेबल होता है। ये एकदम सिक्योर मोड में से एक माना जाता है। हालांकि इसमें जो पैसा ट्रांसफर करते हैं वो रियल टाइम में नहीं होता। इंटरनेट बैंकिंग का दूसरा टूल है IMPS यानी इमीडिएट पेमेंट सर्विसेज। इसकी खासियत है कि आप इसमें रियल टाइम में पैसा ट्रांसफर कर सकते हैं। हालांकि इसमें ट्रांसफर लिमिट 2 लाख रुपए तक की होती है। तीसरा टूल है RTGS यानी रियल टाइम ग्रॉस सेटलमेंट। ये काफी फास्ट और सिक्योर्ड मोड माना जाता है। इसमें आपको मिनिमम 2 लाख रुपए तक का ट्रांजैक्शन करना होता है। जब भी आप ऑनलाइन ट्रांजैक्शन करें, सिक्योर्ड मोड ऑफ पेमेंट यानी कि NEFT, RTGS या IMPS के माध्यम से ही करें ताकि आपका ट्रांजैक्शन एकदम सेफ एंड सिक्योर्ड रह सके।
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing good and fulfilling my duty of responsible citizen by staying at home to maintain social distancing.
Yeah, me too. Actually, I have a few doubts about the Arogya Setu app. After installing this app, what all personal information are we required to share?
When you are registering on the app, it will ask you for your name, age, gender, profession, and your last 30 days of travel history. It would also request for permission to keep mobiles, Bluetooth, and GPS location on.
So where does all this information go and get stored?
The information submitted by you is encrypted and safely stored in the server.
So information about me like where I go, with whom I meet, is also being stored in the servers?
No. If you come in contact with another person who has also installed the same app, this piece of information is captured and stored on your mobile itself. This information is not sent to the server.
Okay, so this information does not go outside my phone.
No, It does not. This information is only sent out of your mobile to the servers if you are found to be COVID positive.
Understood. If I become COVID positive, then this information is used to inform everyone who knowingly or unknowingly came in contact with me so that they can also get themselves tested.
That's correct. If you remain well, then even the government will not use this information. Your personal information will remain personal and secure within your mobile.
Will information about me be stored permanently in mobile or servers?
No, that's not the case. The captured information gets deleted from your mobile after 30 days and from the server after 45 days. In case you are found COVID positive, your information from the server will be deleted after 60 days.
This is great. This app keeps my data safe and private, and I am safe as well. I'm convinced now that Arogya Setu app is the right way to fight Corona.
चलिए फिर से बच्चे बन जाते हैं। बच्चों और बचपन से हमें बहुत कुछ सीखना है। याद है जब बचपन में हमें खांसी बुखार हो जाता था, बदन दुखता था तो हम रोते हुए माँ के पास जाते थे और उन्हें अपनी तकलीफ बताते थे। माँ कुछ घर की दवाई जैसे काढ़ा हो, हल्दी हो, उससे आराम देती थी हमें। जरूरत पड़ने पर डॉक्टर के पास ले जाती थी और कुछ दिनों बाद हम खेलने कूदने लग जाते थे। आज कोरोना की इस लड़ाई में हमें फिर से यही करना है। अपनी तकलीफ को अपनों को बताना है, राहत पाना है, इलाज कराना है, खेलना कूदना है, जीतना है। इसी में सबकी भलाई है। देखिए, बीमारी कोई कलंक नहीं होता है। परिवार तो आपका भला ही चाहता है ना। तो चलिए फिर से बच्चे बन जाते हैं, अपनी तकलीफ अपनों को बताते हैं। कोरोना से हमें लड़ना है, डरना नहीं है।
Namaskar and welcome to this very special edition of DD Dialogue, and this being our second installment in the special digital dialogue series. I'm Sakal Bhatt, and today we're going to focus on convergence and collaboration when it comes to digital innovation and startup ecosystem, with a pertinent focus on what does it really take for India to rule when it comes to the Global Innovation Index, and most importantly, women leading from the front in the entire startup ecosystem. And as we speak about all that, we also evaluate the roadblocks, the bottlenecks, the vision, the way forward, and most importantly, our Atmanirbharta in the digital innovation startup domain. And we have a very special panel in this edition of Digital Dialogue. In our Delhi studio, we are joined by Nishtha Satyam. Nishtha Satyam is the Deputy Country Representative, UN Women Office for India, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, as well as Maldives. You've got a lot of work to handle, Nishtha. Pleasure having you on the show. Also in our Delhi studio, we have Mr. Abhishek Singh with us. Very glad to have him again on Doordarshan. CEO MyGov.in and also CEO National E-Governance. Thank you very much, Mr. Singh, for being with us today. And with that, I also welcome on this edition of Digital Dialogue, Mr. Saurav Gaur, Joint Secretary, Ministry of IT and Electronics. It's basically the concerned vertical viewers of Atmanirbhar Bharat app challenge that has been recently launched by our Honorable Prime Minister. And he also deals with industry, promotion and hardware division. So you'll have to do a lot of answering today when it comes to Atmanirbhar Bharat challenge. And let me also take this opportunity to welcome very two special guests, one joining us from Bangalore and the other from New Delhi. And I'm going to, in fact, welcome Dr. Ramanathan. Ramana Ramanathan, Namaskar sir, Managing Director, Atal Innovation Mission, joining us from Delhi, and very happy to have on the show today Pranav Pai. Pranav Pai is tech venture capital investor. He continuously writes for national and international publications, particularly with the digital and innovation space. Pranav, you're joining us from Bangalore. Thank you so much for taking out some time for Doordarshan. Really appreciate that. And I'm going to quickly actually start with Nishta. Nishta, how does international platforms like United Nations look at women's role post-pandemic? And particularly, let me also, as I ask this question to you, tell our viewers that UN Women together with MyGov, they have launched this COVID-19 Shri Shakti Challenge under EU-funded program, viewers. And India is one of the countries, I think United Nations has a lot of expectations. The women back home here. Tell us a little bit more about the campaign and Indian women leading from the front in this startup system.
Sure. Well, I think it's a very, very proud partnership that we have with MyGov, and what it essentially looks to do is seek women entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs who have a solution, a citizen-led solution and a tech-led solution on COVID that either is from a woman entrepreneur or one of the entrepreneurs, or looks at women specifically and center stages them within rehabilitation and recovery. So that's what we are doing with MyGov, and having gone through some of the process, we are delighted to look at the number of complex yet very scalable solutions that have come through.
When you say we, you mean United Nations?
United Nations and MyGov.
Okay.
And MyGov. I'm actually personally very, very delighted, and it was 2 wonderful days of listening into people, particularly women who had a lot to say about how tech can solve the challenges that we are facing. Now, specifically coming to the United Nations, I think we're one of the organizations that have had the experience of managing something like this in the past.
Okay.
And having worked very closely with parts, with particularly with Ebola in West Africa, and when the UN did an analysis post-Ebola, the one thing that we found out and was consistent across certain situations like these is that women took twice as much time to come back where they were post the pandemic as compared to where they were before
the pandemic.
And that shows that all of us here will need to do something urgently, intentionally for women to come back. But on the contrast reality also is that 70% of global healthcare workers and even healthcare workers in India happen to be women. So
absolutely.
And not only are they more exposed to the pandemic, but also one must not ignore the great life of service that women have brought to India.
Okay, having said that, here of course the role of Ashas, Anganwadis, in fact we've had a lot of discussion on that in our earlier editions if you remember. But then particularly this program, its penetration in rural India, empowering rural women, their startups, is that a challenge area, or you think that rural India, women in rural India under this aegis of this program sponsored by EU and under UN aegis is another success story which many don't really even know about? Because we didn't have something like this before.
See, what I would say is that today technology allows people to collaborate across geographies and to come up and present a solution that they otherwise might not have got an opportunity of doing so. Even in this challenge, if you look at, it's not that the participants that we got like more than 1200 proposals which competed for the top 10 which we were finalizing over the weekend. We went to the presentations of top 25 and the top 10 were selected there.
They were all urban or it was mixed?
They were mixed. They were mixed. They were from all parts of the country. There were teams which are coming from remote locations in Kerala. There were teams which are coming from Rajasthan. There were teams coming from Delhi, from Kolkata. So we had contestants coming from all over, and they were looking at some of the challenges which might not be very obvious to anyone looking in a metro or in a big city. So they were looking at how we can improve access to say help, like what we can do to, if I want to provide some help to a migrant worker, if I want to give access to food coupons to them, if I want to donate something, how do I do that? How do I make low cost ventilators? How do we make ultraviolet tools? How use ultraviolet tools to do sanitizing? How do we make masks which are safer? So, and then there were researchers from universities and all who were working on complex formulas to come up with the solutions that they presented.
But taking technology to your gaon, is that a challenge area still?
See, the way that is being done is because ensuring access to technology and access to services, that has been a challenge for a long time. But over the last few years, with the penetration of the Bharat Broadband network, through which fiber based connectivity is being offered to the villages, and the common service centers, the network of common service centers, incidentally today is the CSC Divas also. In fact, I remember in 2009 when I was part of the team that launched the CSC SPV, and today we are celebrating the 11 years of CSCs, and we have a network of 400,000 common service centers across the country, and these people are offering all kinds of public services, financial services, and even health services, with telemedicine and connecting people in the rural areas to
basically this
hospitals.
is work under progress. I mean, or
a lot of it is already going on.
A lot of it has been going on, but this COVID has given it a big fillip.
COVID has in fact fast tracked it, I would say.
Yes,
The digital technologies have come in focus, whether it's healthcare or whether it's e-learning, education. We find today students and teachers are teaching online, of course, but there of course the issue.
In fact, I'm going to get Pranav and Dr. Ramanathan also into this, the e-learning part. But before that, before I go to them, I want to have a quick opening remarks from Mr. Gaur also, because electronics manufacturing, we've seen good numbers, 23% cumulative average growth rate. Well, that's what the research paper says over the last 6 years. But then impact of COVID in your sector, or it's not been much, plus this is a backbone. This is a backbone when we talk about the entire 360 innovation domain or ecosystem. That's how we put it.
Yeah. So let me begin by saying that I believe COVID has been a great disruptor early on, but I believe now it is a great accelerator also for digital penetration. And if you look at the overall ecosystem, today we have the second largest startup ecosystem in the entire world. We have almost 60,000 startups, and these are not just in the metro cities, these are spread across tier 2,
but
tier
are
3
these startups
cities.
Self-sustaining?
So I'll probably come to that, but if one of the parameters for their success is how much capital they've been able to raise, so it is nearing almost $100 billion US. And what has happened is that, you see, they don't really have to remain constrained to the geographical boundaries. It is the innovation that they bring to the system which is helping them do better product designs, have more market access, and that is where government has also been playing a role in terms of the Startup India mission, where we have all these 60,000 odd startups connected, and there are different incentives on offer. And on top of that, the incubation setup also, we have almost 40% growth in the incubators. We have 400 plus incubators. These are the places where startups come together, collaborate, and find more traction for their ideas, and they're able to access capital also. So I believe this is, again, like you said, it is a work in progress, but I believe that presently being the second largest ecosystem, we are going to become the largest also in time to come. And coming back to electronics manufacturing, it has been one of the strong pillars of Digital India and Make in India platform. We have been growing, like you said, at 23%, but more than that, we are now the second largest mobile manufacturers in the entire world. If there are 2 billion mobile handsets being produced across the world, India produces almost 300 million of them. And we are 5 years from now, we'll probably be making 600 million. And some of the biggest companies in the world, as well as Indian national champions also, we'll see emerging out of the country.
Can such a success story be replicated in other domains as well? I'm going to come to Dr. Ramanathan now, talking about the Atal Innovation Mission. I was just reading some of your research papers, sir. Well, it started with the vision of Atal initiative is to cultivate 1 million children in India as neoteric innovators. 1 million children. Yes, you're smiling. So let's do a quick analysis. How much of ground has been covered, and has COVID been an accelerator or a disruptor? Realistically speaking, what all has been happening in your Atal Innovation Mission?
Thank you, Sakal, and it is a great question that you have asked. And I would like to convey the happy news that we have now 2 million students who are exposed to Atal Tinkering Labs and innovation. And that is surpassed the number of 1 million that we had talked about when we conceived of the mission. The Atal Innovation Mission, as you probably are already aware, focuses on 2 things. One is how do you create a culture of innovation in our country? You know, you want entrepreneurs, you want startups, but you have to create a problem-solving, innovative mindset in the young students coming out from our schools, from our universities, from our industry. So that is one aspect. The second aspect is how do you create that ecosystem of entrepreneurship so that young innovators who want to create startups are able to thrive in such an environment? Can we create a vibrant ecosystem of entrepreneurship? And this is what we have been doing through several initiatives. One is at a school level. We have been launching thousands of Atal Tinkering Labs, which are dedicated innovation workspaces, where latest of emerging technologies like 3D printers, robotics, IoT, miniaturized electronics, and augmented virtual reality, do-it-yourself kits are being given to the young students so that they can create solutions for problems they see in and around the community. So not only are they acquiring valuable technology skills relevant for the 21st century, but they also acquire 21st century critical skills in design thinking, teamwork, collaborative workshops, and so on. The second thing is when these students go into the universities, they will have world-class incubators, which will foster world-class startups. So today, as the fellow panelists said, we already have more than 300 incubators in the country, and each of them would be fostering 25 to 30 startups. So that would be enabling many of the startups to overcome what they call as the valleys of death in their startup life cycle. The third thing we are doing is we are launching what are known as Atal New India Challenges. Okay. And these challenges are to stimulate product innovations in specific areas relevant to our country so that they can have national impact at a socio-economic level. So we launched these challenges along with ministries, and we are also partnering with METI, MyGov in many of the challenges that they are launching, whether it is the Bharat App Innovation Challenge or other challenges.
It actually sounds
the fourth
fantastic.
Initiative is we are launching what is known as ARISE, Applied Research and Innovation for Small Enterprises for the MSME industry.
Yes.
So these are all various ways in which we are ensuring that innovation and entrepreneurship blossoms across the country, whether it is in tier 1 cities or in the tier 2, tier 3 and rural areas.
Has COVID, Pranav, if you could just pick it from there, because you've been there, done that, your exposure to the startups that have been working outside, I mean, global perspective, lessons learned, Pranav, and taking a cue from Dr. Ramanathan, the competencies and capacities on ground, on paper, things look very good. But on ground, what is your assessment?
It's a very good question, and I would say that we are very positive about India's position now as a top 3 startup economy in the world today. Just to give you some numbers from the ground, thanks to the Indian IT industry, which is now one of the largest in the world, only second to the US, we have 4.5 million trained IT professionals in India. That's 45 lakh trained IT professionals. And it is no surprise that when they leave the large IT companies, they start startups. Our startups are much ahead compared to their peers globally because they have a much more stronger fundamentals in their industries. So India is now amongst the leaders in education technology in the world. One of the world's most valuable edtech companies is Byju, fully Indian company. We're leaders in e-commerce. As you know, Flipkart is one of the most valuable e-commerce companies in the world after Walmart's acquisition. We have done really well, especially in the last 5 years. But we must not lose sight of the fact that we need more investment and innovation now to keep up with what the US and China are doing. We cannot slow down, and we must build on the early success that we have so far.
In fact, Abhishek, saying you wanted to make a point, you were nodding there. We cannot afford to slow down, but is that slow down?
I fully agree with what Pranav just said, is that like even in the app ecosystem, when you look at, like if you look at the data from Sensor Tower, it says that in the first 3 months of this year, the total number of apps downloaded was of the order of around 33 billion downloads happened of all the apps combined together. And India was the top downloader. India stood as the country which had more than 5 billion downloads of the app. And on the other hand, when you look at companies which are the top in the charts while who are making the apps, in the top 20 we don't figure. Of the top 20
Why?
apps, 5 are Indian,
Why?
5
Why
are
is it?
Chinese, 5
Yes.
are American, and then the other 10 from
Chinese
Belarus.
is history now. So
No, Chinese is history, we may say that as far as India is concerned, but the point is that they are there in the world market. And if we have to do that, we have the capability. The top IT tech companies across the world, if you look at, most of them are led by Indians. Indians are part of the, they have been part and parcel of almost every IT major across the world. We have been the top service provider as far as IT industry is concerned. Our IT personnel, they service almost almost every sector in the world. So what is required is to incubate a product ecosystem. Unfortunately, we have been very good in services, but not so much in product. So now this app innovation challenge and incentives which the government is providing, whether it's in electronics manufacturing or app development, will ensure that we kickstart an app economy in India. And once they do that, they will be as good, if not better, than any other app in the world, and then we'll be able to occupy our rightful place.
Kickstarting an app economy, I will take Pranav's point on that as well. But sir, app economy is what we are looking at. Sounds ambitious, but then we are on course. Because your sector is doing very well, but I'm sure there must be challenges also. For example, investment and confidence in investors. Though Prime Minister has reiterated on multiple platforms that our Atmanirbharta is all about self-generating and self-sustaining, doesn't mean that you're closing doors to the rest of the world. And your sector cannot do without the FDI flowing in.
Absolutely. So while we are reliant on some of the components from markets from abroad, and our value addition in electronics across different segments is say between 20 to 30% depending on which segment we are looking at. But there is no gainsaying in the fact that as we strive for more value addition, we have to work with the app ecosystem and the overall solutions development ecosystem. And that is where probably one of the missing pieces is new institutions that have to emerge out. And within government also, now we are looking at, for example, in electronics, we have something called as Electronics Development Fund, which is essentially a fund of funds, but where government, usually it is giving loans or grants, usually grants, but here government is coming as an equity partner and acting as a fund of funds, and we are supporting daughter funds which are in turn engaged in supporting these deep tech startups in emerging technologies like AI, IoT, and otherwise and the other core electronic manufacturing technologies also. And I believe this is what will probably pave the way for future. So one is the institutions, and second is, I believe, the public digital platforms. That the strength of Indian ecosystem, again, one of the other strengths is the data that we generate. And now we have to move beyond solutions and systems to ecosystem development. And that is where now a holistic public digital platform development is in different sectors, moving from apps, making the data available to the apps, so that a digital health ecosystem, digital agriculture ecosystem. Similarly, sector by sector, we have to develop these ecosystems also.
So, Pranav, very quickly, I'm going to come to Nishtha as well. Digital ecosystem, we are on course, but then, Pranav, the question is, you cannot do without active investment. Is that money flowing? We do need that money. Do we enjoy the confidence of the world?
Absolutely, Sakal, and you're 100% right. The Indian startup ecosystem has gotten so big so quickly because it has been very inviting to global capital coming in. Of course, the Prime Minister and the government of India now have reiterated that the Chinese ban should not set a precedence for any other geography, because most countries in the world are working in a friendly way with India, and I believe they will continue to invest. However, our biggest challenge, Sakal, and unfortunately we have not done enough to address this, is that we still don't have enough Indian rupee capital investing in our startups. For example, last year, Indian startups raised $14.5 billion. That's close to 1 lakh crore rupees, Jan to December 2019. I'm very sorry to say less than 10% was Indian rupee capital from India, from Indian family offices, from Indian corporations, from the banks, from the pension funds, from the insurance companies. Indian capital is not participating in this big innovation ecosystem. And that is why, unfortunately, Sakal, even though so many large companies are being built in India, Indian capital is not participating and enjoying the benefits. So that's why we think, while the government has done exceedingly well in bringing global capital to India, the wave 2 of innovation now must be owned more and more by Indian capital. My personal target is to live long enough to see 50% of all capital in startups every year coming only from India, not only from outside.
Let me take Nishta's view on it, because you dealing with that campaign also revolves around not only encouraging women leadership in entrepreneurship, but also their involvement, capacity building in, and roping in private players. Now, what's the model that the other countries that you're dealing with, for example, Maldives, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, particularly Sri Lanka, we are better off than them, though there are no comparisons, I understand. But this Indian money flowing in, is this a problem area in your domain as well, Nishta?
Well, I think our domains per se are all the
Overlapping?
same. We all overlap,
Yes,
and we
yes.
look at the same set of things. It's just that we look at everything from a gender angle.
Yes.
That brings in a different dimension sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't, but most of the times it does. Now, to answer your first question, honestly, to compare India with any country in the subcontinent or anywhere in the world would honestly be quite assumptuous, because we are so uniquely placed in terms of socio-cultural barriers, how we invest, why we invest, what we expect from our investing.
Rural-urban divide.
Well, to some extent, the rural-urban divide, how risk-averse we are as a community.
Risk-averse. Yeah.
Well, we are calculated in our risks, how much we believe in things that have never been done before.
Yes.
So, I think we are very uniquely placed on some of those parameters that really foster investment.
Okay.
And so, it wouldn't be right for me to compare a Sri Lanka to an India, which is many Sri Lankas, right? And so, it's very difficult to give you really a comparison of that sorts. But particularly coming to women, I think the one thing I can tell you is, we also work on the issue of women in leadership. And the one thing that the startup movement has made it clear is about 50% of startups that have raised capital round 1 or round 2 have had women as either a co-founder or a COO or as a founder. So we know that the absence of women in the leadership paradigm is not a default setting.
Okay.
It is a design setting in the other worlds that we see. So that for us has been a fun fact from the startup movement. A lot of women, particularly the Sri Shakti Challenge was one opportunity, but many other opportunities. And Abhishek and I were thrilled to see father-daughter duos, mother-daughter duos, and from the remotest parts of the country present technology solutions. And then you realize that you have unsung heroes in this country in every corner, and some of the technology that they were proposing is probably what an urban trained mind working for the UN could not even put together to think, well, that could be an angle too, well, why didn't I think of it? Yes. We had this little girl who was, I think, in her class 9 or 12, who basically just picked up crane technology, and she said, why can't we customize this to hospitals, because it's only going to take us a cable to do that.
Wow.
And she was what, 15? And you see that women represent a very bubbling moment as a part of the startup world. From a bank's perspective, women have been great sources of investing, because they're sticky, they're more likely to pay, they're very diligent
and
in
your
their payments.
collaborative partner is nodding.
Absolutely, and you'll
Yes.
hear it from any bank.
Yes,
You'll
yes.
hear it from any bank, and which is why we have such a robust self-help group movement that lends. The only thing is, India needs to learn that when it lends to women, it shouldn't be just lending in groups. So we've learned our lesson that women are equally, if not more, great sources of ideas, of innovation, and truly because because women are also closer to the development paradigm. In how they live their lives. So they're the one who are connected with water, they're the ones who are connected with food, with drawing water for agriculture, with healthcare, providing nutrition. So all the things that matter to us as a country, you will see that women are just naturally closer to those paradigms.
Yes.
So sometimes they also know the challenges better, and by virtue of that, they're sometimes more likely to come up with solutions that actually solve the problem. So I'm very
I'm sorry,
Sure.
I'm interrupting you. Dr. Ramanathan, do you agree with you agree with Nishta there, because I could see you smiling out there. But with that, the kind of collaborations Atal Innovation Mission has had with countries in Europe, UK, USA, I mean, that's fantastic. But then the kind of success stories that Nishta was hinting at or talking about it, do you have a similar sort of narrative also building up in Atal Innovative Mission? You talked about, I said 1 million children, you said now we have 3 million. So out of those 3 million, I mean, do we have girl students really leading from the front?
So I think it's a very, very important observation. I totally align myself with what was said earlier. We have, just for your information, we have 5,100 Atal Tinkering Labs across the country. 70% of them are in girls and co-ed schools. And 70% of the Atal Tinkering Labs are in government-aided schools. Yes, and they are spread across 660 districts. So we are talking about a very uniform distribution of tinkering labs and the creation of innovative students. Now, what was very interesting for us to find was that when we run a tinkering marathon every year, last year we ran a tinkering marathon with 50,000 students participating in this marathon. And they all created innovations. 8,000 innovations got created, out of which 1,500 were submitted to Atal Innovation Mission for consideration.
Okay.
The top 200 had 33% as girl children winners. So now, why that number is significant is, you still don't have 50% enrollment of girls in schools in India today.